Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So I wanted to do a really simple, rambly style video today. We've done lots of videos recently with, PowerPoints and Wikipedia articles and stuff. So in today's ASMR football, soccer related video, we're going to look at the Saudi Arabia League situation because it's an ongoing thing at the second. I wanted to do a video a couple of weeks ago, but I hesitated because I wanted to see how far it would come in a short space of time. I found a really good article which was written by espn.co.uk, and it says the Saudi Arabia transfer tracker done deals and players linked. It's a really good place to start because we can talk about who has already gone to Saudi Arabia, who is in discussions or has been linked, and which have said no as well because a couple have turned them down. And then once we've done that, I'm going to talk a little bit because I've known about the Saudi Arabian League for a while. I've watched games in this league, and I feel like I can talk a little bit about the league itself. So yeah, towards the end of the video, we'll have a little discussion about what's the quality of the league. Is it, a Mickey Mouse league, or is it a pretty decent one? What will happen in the future? Stuff like that. Okay, so done deals. The marquee transfer of Karim Benzema, of course. He went on a free at the end of his contract to Al Ittihad, even though Real Madrid thought he would actually sign an extra year. N'Golo Kante from Chelsea has gone to Al Ittihad as well. Those two are sort of in their 30s, so it's not a massive shock, but the next one was a shock. It was Ruben Neves. He went from Wolves for 55 million euros to Al Hilal. Kalidou Koulibaly from Chelsea went for 17 million to the same club, Al Hilal. And then Edouard Mendy, Chelsea goalkeeper, went to Al Ahly for 16 million. Next up is a managerial one, so Steven Gerrard said no to Al Ittifaq originally, but then realised he didn't get any of the jobs that he wanted to get in England, so he's turned around and said yes. So he's going to be the new manager of Al Ittifaq, which is interesting because they're not one of the top four. I think they came 6th or 7th. They can make Champions League football. But I don't think they're being supported financially by the state, which is interesting because does that mean he's going to go out there and have no money to spend? So that's strange. Next one is Marcelo Brozovic from Inter Milan to Al Nassr to join Ronaldo for 18 million euros. The next one was also a little bit of a shock, similar to Ruben Neves, another Portuguese Jota from Celtic, 25 million to Al Ittihad to play with Benzema and N'Golo Kante. And then Bobby Firmino went on a free to Al Ahly. Okay. So according to this article, the talks ongoing at the second are Neymar from PSG to Al Hilal, Hakim Ziyech from Chelsea to Al Nassr. He had failed his medical, so I'm not sure if that's off now. Bernardo Silva to Al Hilal, Saul from Atletico Madrid to Al Nassr, Wilfried Zaha from Crystal Palace to Al Nassr, Gigi Buffon from Parma to an unnamed club, but he's been contacted apparently. And the big shock for me, if you've watched this channel for a long time, you know I have a very high opinion of this person, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio to Al Hilal, which apparently is in the latter stages. I read yesterday on a different website. The weird one about that for me is that he's been in Lazio for years. He seems really happy. They built a team around him and they just qualified for Champions League football for next year, so it seems strange that he would go, and he's only 28. But yeah, apparently they're looking to throw money at him and give him something like 20 million a year until 2026. So money talks, doesn't it? Okay, now importantly onto the rejected deals. So Leo Messi was supposed to go to Al Hilal from Paris Saint-Germain, but he went to Inter Miami instead. Romelu Lukaku turned down the offer of joining from Chelsea to Al Hilal as well, but it looks like he's going to end up at Inter again. Jose Mourinho, manager of AS Roma, was asked to go and manage Al Ahly and turned them down. Son Heung-min of Spurs was supposed to go to Al Ittihad with Benzema and turned them down and said money isn't everything. Luka Modric, before he had his 1-year extension, was asked to go to Al Hilal from Real Madrid. Jamie Vardy, it's a weird one, was asked to go from Leicester to Al Khalij, and he said he's not interested in a move to the Middle East. I think the reason I find that so strange is Al Khalij, I think, is he not even in the first, they're not even in the Premier League, they're in the next division down. And then Pedro was supposed to go from Flamengo to Al Hilal, but he is not impressed with the offer apparently. Pedro is not in a European club, he plays for Flamengo and has for many, many years. One of the best players in the Brazilian league. Okay, so let's have a little talk then about why they're going there to begin with. Well, I think it's pretty obvious, it's money, right? But if I'm to understand things correctly, it's a long-term project. I think that the company that deals with the transfers is trying to create a legacy for the league, and they've actually referenced the Chinese Super League. If you remember, about maybe 10 years ago now, the president of China said, we should be one of the best football nations in the world and we should improve our league. So to try and impress him, loads of companies bought football clubs in China, paid extortionate amounts of money to get loads of Brazilians and Argentinians and some African players in to play there. And then when the president of China said he wasn't interested anymore, they all just dropped out immediately and couldn't pay any of the players. So Saudi Arabia referenced that and said that no, this is going to be a long-term sustainable project. They're going to bring in some marquee players, but then they want to bring in players after that on normal wages, just to want to go there as it being a prestigious league. So let's talk about the league then. So Saudi Arabia is was already one of the best leagues in Asia. They have in the side Al Hilal, the side that tried to sign Messi and are trying to sign Bernardo Silva. They have the Real Madrid of Asia. They've won the Champions League more times than anyone else. They are the current holders. Oh no, you're our red diamonds are actually. Because there's a weird transition. They've changed the Asian Champions League to run the same time as the European Champions League. So it's going to start again. So there's sort of like 2 this year. So it's going to start again soon and then run in the normal calendar year. The way that ours does. It's not a normal calendar year. It's a summer, winter one, isn't it? And Saudi Arabia's league already was doing that. So they are set up to play along with the calendar of Europe. So it sort of suits TV audiences, for example. Also, Saudi Arabia isn't that far away, and they have to play at night because of the heat. So matches are sort of not too inconvenient in terms of their time zone, I think. If they play at 10, it might be a little bit later for us, I guess, but and yeah, so basically, if the league were in, I was trying to think of this before I start the video, if the league were in Europe, I think it would be in those sort of spaces to get into Champions League football, somewhere below Scotland, around a sort of Denmark, Serbia mark. I think it's better than quite a lot of the smaller leagues, but not in the top. Like, maybe it would just make the top 10. No, probably not. I mean, just think if you got, Spain, Italy, Germany, England, Netherlands, France, Portugal, Ukraine. Yeah, it's probably below that group. So it's probably better than Sweden, maybe. Maybe not as good as Denmark, sort of just in that spot there. I think Serbia currently are lying in that area. Maybe it's as good as the Turkish Super League, arguably, maybe. But yeah, when they've got all these foreigners going in as well, it's going to definitely improve the league. But they already struggled for having so many foreigners in striking positions that when they went to the World Cup they didn't really have a striker, because every club just has 2 foreigners instead and doesn't really bring them through. So is it going to have an adverse effect, and is it going to affect the national team negatively, which is an interesting thought? Or is training with these players going to do, really good things for youngsters coming through? So I'd imagine that they already have a little bit of a monopoly on the Champions League. Usually it's aside from Saudi Arabia, because Asia is so big. If in case you don't know, I need to do a video on this really. The Asian Champions League is split into West and East. So the group stage, first knockout, quarterfinal, semi-final are only in your zone. So for example, someone from Saudi Arabia would never play someone from Japan until the final. So it is a case at the minute where Saudi Arabia usually get at least to a quarter semi-final on their side, because they're in a pretty decent area. They've got Qatar there, they've got some good teams. The UAE have got some good teams. Iran have got some good teams. Every now and again some from Uzbekistan as well. I'm trying to think what else is in that area. Yeah, so they usually get quite far. And then on the other side, they usually have a final against a side from Korea or Japan. So they're already sort of guaranteed to go quite far in the competition. I can see the next couple of years, because Saudi Arabia do have 4 teams, similar to England, who get into the Champions League group stages. I can see them all sort of being, it might be a situation where you have 4 semi-finalists on the one, quarter-finalists, on the one side from Saudi Arabia, and they might be competing against each other. So overall, I think it's a really exciting project, personally. I mean, I'm not ignoring the political situation in Saudi Arabia with human rights abuses and all of that. In a purely footballing aspect, though, it is exciting to see a league just pop out of nowhere and get players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, Kante, etc. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I hope it isn't a flash in the pan, and I hope it encourages other leagues in Asia to improve their quality as well, to see more of a global sport rather than just concentrating on Europe all the time. So I hope this video has been really relaxing. If it has, give it a thumbs up and then drop me a comment and let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good thing that Saudi Arabia are buying all these really good players? Do you think it's a terrible thing? Who do you think might be tempted to go in the next year or two in this project? And if you're new to the channel, then click subscribe, and I'll see you all really soon, okay?